Richard Chase, a quiet man, a loner, a person who could walk down the street and seem utterly ordinary, but inside his mind, chaos brewed, a darkness that would erupt into a spree of murder so grotesque, so horrifying, that Sacramento, California, would never forget it. He was later dubbed the Vampire of Sacramento, but let's be clear, this was not a nickname given lightly. Richard didn't just kill, he drank blood, he mutilated bodies, he terrorized a community from inside his own ramshackle home, while neighbors thought he was just another eccentric neighbor who maybe talked to himself too loudly. Born in 1950, Chase grew up in an environment that fostered fear and instability. He suffered from mental illness, paranoid schizophrenia, and delusions that the world was out to get him. By the late 1970s, these delusions had escalated into obsession. He believed that drinking blood was necessary to survive, that the essence of life could be stolen through violence, and unfortunately, he had the means to act on these horrific fantasies. His first known murders began in December 1977. Victims were selected seemingly at random, women, couples, anyone who came too close. He would break into homes in the middle of the night, attack his victims, and then engage in acts so grotesque they sound like something out of a horror film. Chase would drink blood from their bodies, consume parts of their flesh, and defile their homes in ways that made investigators question reality itself. Some bodies were partially decapitated, others dismembered, with blood smeared across walls and floors. The crime scenes were horrifying, a chaotic mess that reflected the twisted mind of their perpetrator. What made Richard Chase so terrifying wasn't just the brutality of his acts, it was the randomness. He didn't target a specific type of victim, he didn't have a predictable pattern, and he seemed to strike wherever he felt a delusional compulsion to act. Families, couples, neighbors, no one was truly safe, and the sense of paranoia in Sacramento grew with each reported disappearance. People installed locks, barred windows, and checked on each other constantly. Yet Chase moved unnoticed, blending into the community like a ghost who carried death in his shadow. Before his final spree, Chase's behavior escalated even further. He began stockpiling weapons, drinking chemicals, and preparing for what he believed would be an apocalyptic blood ritual. He terrorized animals in his apartment, killed neighborhood pets, and consumed their blood, believing it would grant him strength. By the time authorities caught up with him, his home was a nightmarish shrine to insanity, with walls stained red and the stench of decay permeating every room. In January 1978, after a string of killings, police finally apprehended Chase, but even in custody, he seemed unmoored from reality. During interviews, he spoke about drinking blood to prevent the world from dying, about voices instructing him to act, and about the necessity of violence to cleanse himself and his environment. He was eventually tried and convicted of 6 murders and sentenced to death, though his mental instability was a constant factor in appeals and hearings. Richard Chase's story is a horrifying reminder of how fragile the line between reality and delusion can be, and how a seemingly ordinary man can harbour the most monstrous intentions. The Vampire of Sacramento was not just a killer, he was a manifestation of fear, paranoia, and madness brought to life. He serves as one of the most extreme examples in American true crime of how mental illness, when untreated and combined with opportunity, can create horrors that leave entire communities scarred. Even decades later, his crimes remain chilling. Reading about them, imagining the scenes, it's impossible not to shudder at the reality that these events didn't happen in a horror movie. They happened in quiet suburban neighborhoods, inside houses where neighbors waved hello in the daylight, completely unaware that a man was drinking blood and plotting more terror just a few doors down. Richard Chase reminds us that evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers in the shadows, smiles politely, and waits for the perfect moment to strike.